Max Lally joins me today ahead of his professional debut against Jonathan Fanard at Cage Legacy 19 next Saturday on September 30. Max coming into the pro ranks with quite an amateur background behind you. IMAF world champion, multiple time regional champion at the likes of Ur and Cage Legacy as well. And you're telling me you're excited to get going next weekend.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. In my opinion, it's been a very long time now. I haven't fought since April, so I'm looking forward to going in and showing everyone the level that I'm at.
100%. Look, let's talk about your amateur career. I think you've had a pretty storied amateur career, but your entry into mixed martial arts came. You said probably in your teen years, or maybe when you're 9 or 10, when you started Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. When was the first time you had that passion to kind of get involved in kind of mixed martial arts or a martial art per se?
Well, the thing was, I was a kid who always excelled at physical activities. Always loved being involved in sport and any sort of kind of art and physically challenging. I always kind of excelled in them areas. So I stumbled across jiu-jitsu as my dad was doing it at the time. And as soon as I kind of started it, I almost couldn't stop doing it like an addict. Continuously trained at about 11, 12 years of age. I was training 5, 6 days a week. It was it was great for me to get into it at such a young age. And as soon as I kind of had the 3, 4 years in me, kind of 14, 15 years old, MMA was always in the back of my head. So I decided maybe to stick at the jiu-jitsu for as long as I possibly can, and then when I kind of, let's say, matured a bit more, I decided to transition into MMA.
So how did that conversation go down? Obviously, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it is quite aggressive sport, but not really as serious as the head trauma you would maybe take in mixed martial arts. So when you're coming in as a young teenager and you're talking to your mom and your dad about maybe making the move over to mixed martial arts, how did that conversation go?
Well, it's funny you say that. It's because my dad, he always kind of he always expected me to have that conversation with him sooner or later.
Yeah.
But as the conversation was made, he was 100% with me doing it. But he said that the training has to be, because if you're going in there to fight someone, it's I don't like say, but it's potential risk to yourself, of getting severely injured. So you need to make sure you prepare for every fight like it's your last. And I remember when he said them words to me, it really stuck. So every time I prepare to fight and every time I go into camp, I'm preparing to fight like it's my last fight, like I'll never fight ever again. So that type of preparation gives me the reassurance that I need, that there's no stone unturned. I'm in there doing what I love, win or lose. So I think a person that has a mindset like that is unbeatable.
Absolutely, and it's some great advice by your dad as well. Like the decision to kind of spend a couple of years in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, did that kind of help your transition a little bit going into mixed martial arts, rather than maybe we hear maybe people just starting straight away in mixed martial arts and kind of trying to learn everything in the at the one time per se, but you kind of came in with like a bit of a wrestling and a bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I think you would have originally started with Owen Roddy at the SBG HQ, is that right?
It is that is right. So it's funny you say that, and this is coming from a person, with a of a good few years of jiu-jitsu behind me, and I find with MMA, and it was a bitter pill to swallow, but in MMA there's only so much jiu-jitsu that, let's say, benefits, and I think I think the IBJJF style of jiu-jitsu really benefits MMA because it's a lot more positional. At the time, I was more competing under submission-only rule sets, so it took me a very long time to kind of, let's say, transition into that positional style of grappling. Whether beforehand I would have been trying to submit everyone from everywhere per se, and getting just lied on and getting my head punched in. So it was kind of, the first kind of transition initially was very tough, but once I kind of learned that, you need to use your strikes to, let's say, get the opportunity to submit instead of just trying to, let's say, submit your opponent into submission, but as soon as I kind of made that kind of realization with obviously the help of me coaches, I found that like my wrestling kind of background stood to me a lot more than my jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
background per se, yeah, that's kind of
Yeah,
my kind of
you,
knowledge of
you
it,
you've explained it, and I was actually going to ask you this question as well, but you've kind of explained it a little bit more eloquently than I'm going to describe Mads Burnell. I'm not sure whether you've seen that, but he was talking to the lads at the Bellator Media Day, right? And he quote unquote said, "Modern day Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is shit. They're teaching."
Yeah, no,
That's exactly
I
what he said.
agree.
Now, would you agree as well? Would you agree with that
No,
sentiment?
I would now. I'm gonna put it kind of into in my own perspective. I think that there's only a very select few things for myself that work in MMA sparring and MMA fights. And this is kind of, if we're looking into the kind of higher percentage stuff, let's
Yeah,
say like back control, even guard passing, like I think guard passing in MMA, it's I'm gonna say it's useless, you know what I mean? Because you're not looking to pass guard, you're looking
yeah,
to do damage, you know what I mean?
yeah.
This is how MMA is scored now in the professional ranks. It's to do with how much damage and how much danger you can put your opponent into, and recently for me I've had to kind of, being more of a, let's say, a grappler in the start of my amateur MMA career, I've really had to take it upon myself to evolve, to try and make every weapon as sharp as each other. And it's like, I think that realistically, it's like if you take someone down to hold them down, I think that how they're scoring fights now is you need to be doing significant damage, from
100%.
the grappling exchanges. A takedown doesn't mean anything anymore. It's simply a change in position. So it's kind of, for me, it's that heavy kind of top wrestling pressure and trying to do damage to my opponent. That's what I've had to kind of have to evolve my grappling style into.
Yeah, and it was funny that you say that kind of as well, because Mads Burnell, he kind of cited the fact that he would have went over and did some training with Henzo Gracie, and he figures that that style of jiu-jitsu was kind of very beneficial to his and the development of his game, where Henzo is like, it's kind of a mean level of jiu-jitsu where he wants to get on top and he wants to land on damage. And you were over there, weren't you, with Henzo
Yeah,
Gracie at
no,
a
I
period of
was, I
time?
was, I was. It's funny you say that. Now, at the time, I was more, let's say, I was more focusing on jiu-jitsu than I was at MMA. So I was doing some of Henzo's classes when he was there. He was there for a few weeks. And I was doing John Danaher's class, and John Danaher's class was a lot more jiu-jitsu orientated. But I found with Henzo's that nasty top pressure, almost wanting to make your opponent submit just from the pressure you're giving them on top. I found that to be a lot more beneficial for MMA. Like the IBJJF Jiu-Jitsu style, I think is a lot more beneficial to MMA than, let's say, ADCC or
Right.
whatever kind of submission only kind of rule set like that, because it's, at the end of the day, an MMA fighter, if they get on top of you, it's not going to be, let's say, trying to technically pass someone's guard. They're going to put a frame, try go 2-on-1, and put an elbow through your forehead, and then that's the getting back to the whole damage and danger kind of rule towards MMA now.
100%. It's very refreshing to see you speak like that, Max, because, scoring is obviously a big thing right now. Is that something like the scoring of a fight and understanding what wins you a fight, and especially when you're moving into the professional ranks now, when wins and losses mean a lot more? Is that something that you focus on, kind of what judges are looking for and the scoring
Yeah.
and understanding of scoring of a fight?
No, I look at the sport a lot, and the way I'm seeing it now is this kind of the judging kind of criteria they're after bringing in. It gives it gives the, let's say, the striker that kind of bit more advantage, whether for years previously in the highest level of the UFC and MMA, it was always grapplers that excelled from takedowns and holding position. I think what they're after doing is they're after changing the judging criteria to get a better flow in fights. It's now, if you get held down on the ground for 4 minutes and I get up and I put a hiding on you for a minute, I'm more likely to take the round than being on me back for 4 minutes. So I look at these things and I apply them into my training, because at the end of the day, it's about winning fights. You know what I mean? And you can complain about rules or whatever like that, and the way it is you have to follow, let's say, what's more likely to win you a fight than, let's say, be ignorant and, let's say, ignore the kind of judges' criteria. Because if that's the case and you want to fight the way you want to fight, fair enough, but it might necessarily go your way all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Looking back at your amateur career, Max, when you started your amateur career and you maybe set yourself some goals, did you kind of meet the majority of those goals that you set for yourself before you've now made the decision to turn to pro?
I have, and I haven't. I've thought my amateur career, I felt like it was, let's say, I don't want to say cut a bit short, but it was just kind of a case of me not being. I don't want to wait around for fights. Let's say. What was happening to me was I was trying to get fights that would be, let's say, beneficial towards me, for me as a fighter, to gain valuable experience. I had a scheduled fight at the start of August in Liverpool, a five round fight, 3 minute round fight at featherweight against a good guy from Liverpool, and unfortunately the whole fight card fell through. I tried to get kind of match that premier kind of last minute, and that didn't really work out. And I don't want to say out of frustration, but I kind of sat down with my coaches and said, well, what's the plan here? I want to, let's say, stay active and keep on improving, because in my opinion, it's the only way we get to reevaluate what we need to do better is by fighting, And I wasn't, let's say, staying as active as I would have liked. And IMAF was a path I was going to, let's say, go back down, but I had fought at this stage. I had 6 amateur fights, and I had just gotten over my labrum tear I had to get surgery on. I had to kind of weigh up the pros and cons and say to myself, is it worth going to do another IMAFs and being at risk of, let's say, doing damage to my shoulder again, or, let's say, damaging something else? So I kind of had to weigh up the pros and cons and make the decision to try fight regional as much as possible. I did, I tried to be getting matched all over Europe, UK, all over Ireland. And it just, for whatever, I don't want to say that no one wanted to fight me, but it mightn't necessarily have suited certain people at the time that I needed to fight. So I just made the decision with my coaches to go pro, and now I'm starting a new chapter now. I'm paving a new path, which I'm really looking forward to.
Absolutely. That injury you mentioned happened at the World Championships 2021. I remember I was watching that. I was watching you compete there as well. A bad injury to have to suffer early in your career. Look at many athletes in high level sports are going to suffer injuries. You were unlucky that it happened to you at that stage of your career. What did you learn over picking up an injury? Because, with a labrum injury, that is a quite serious one. So you have to rehab it and make sure you don't come back too soon and little things like that. So did that kind of help mold your preparations in a different manner? Do you think maybe, we spoke about IMAF competitions and the benefit of competing multiple times in a weekend or even on a day? I think you fought 4 guys in one day before an IMAF. Yeah. So I think, what do you think led to that injury, and what difference did you kind of entail into your kind of game in preparation after the injury?
I'll be honest, what kind of, let's say, and I always kind of, I don't sugarcoat it, I think what led up to my injury was, I don't want to say incorrect preparation in regards to training, but all the other little areas, like in regards to sleep, diet, recovery, I want to say a bit of, I still am only 20, but I want to say a bit of maturity kicked in, after had injured my shoulder and had to sit out 5 months realistically with no any sort of training. You know, it was 4 months before I could even start my whole rehabilitation process. You know, so
Yeah,
I was
crazy.
on the side. I was on the sidelines for a very long time, and I learned that, you know, my body isn't indestructible. You know, there's ways I still train very hard, but I just make sure to nail all them little small, let's say the small little victories. I always make sure to add them up because they all accumulate into one kind of, let's say, bigger kind of victory, you know. Um, and that's what I did then for the kind of remainder of my I think it was my 3 amateur fights after that injury. You know, I really kind of made sure to make sure everything was correct in the training room and outside the training room. You know, I'm very serious about the sport. I don't drink at all. I don't kind of like, I wouldn't be into any kind of going out. I do live and breathe the sport, you know. But in regards to nutrition, you know, I really make sure to nail that on the head, you know, for the up and coming fights that I had, you know, to make sure that my body is in the best capable position to perform, you know. And I did that in my last 3 amateur fights, and now I've been on point. I've been on weight for my up and coming pro debut the past 2 weeks, and I've been training. I've been training multiple hours a day with the help of John Connor, you know, my nutritionist there with the ISI. He's been a big help to me all throughout my amateur career, you know. So that's the biggest thing. The body, you know, I learned from the surgeries that my body isn't, you know, indestructible, and that, you know, that I have to look after it. You know, I can still train hard, but I need to make sure that I'm doing all the little small things to get my body in the best capable position to proceed to train hard the following week. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah, hundred
that was the
percent.
biggest thing. You know.
Big time, big time. Yeah. A lot of talk lately has been surrounding Ian Gary about they want to call it a nomad lifestyle, and that's moving from gym to gym to gym and picking up skills here, there, and everywhere. That's something that you've been doing for quite some time. Obviously, you're under Owen Roddy. You've done some work with Sergai, and you've kind of spread yourself out around a number of gyms to kind of help yourself get prepared and level up as well. Do you feel that that's important for your development?
I really do. I really do, and it's a good little kind of chain of gyms that I have, you know, with a huge variety of sparring partners, and then different coaching styles, you know, in regards to Collie, Owen, Sergey, and John Connor, you know. I bounce between them 4 gyms, and I really feel like that is what has brought me on so much throughout my amateur career, and even now, you know, it's all the guys help me get better so much. And it's something I think that I find some people kind of frown upon it, you know, with loyalty and stuff like that. But in regards to Collie, Sergey, and Owen, I've been with them all a very long time, you know. And them 3 guys, they have me back, and I feel like that I have improved times 3 than I would have without them, you know. So
Yeah,
I
I
do
think
owe
it's a
them
very
guys
good.
a lot.
Yeah, it's a very good kind of mindset to have, and kind of getting different looks, different spars, and like you said, different coaching methods. And I think that's going to be important in, like, as mixed martial arts is developing and is trying to get as much looks as you can. And look, you've even went out, you've traveled to the States when you're a young lad, and you've gone over recently to Thailand as well to do
Yep.
some work over there. Thailand is a mad place, isn't it?
Ah, it's some buzz. I'm going back over the first week of November, and I get back then the end of February. So I'm gonna do a
Love.
long out stint over there. Good 4 month training. But I don't call it a training camp because I always train. I wouldn't really call training camps. I
Development
call
camp is what they're
development
calling them
camp,
now.
let's say, yeah, something like that, you know. But I just go over, and I train in places like that because I just enjoy doing it, you know. I enjoy getting better. It's just I just love doing it, so that's why I do it, you know.
Were
For
you in
no
Bang
other
Tao,
reason.
or were you in
I
Bang
was in
Tao or
Bangtail. I was in Bangtail, yeah,
yeah,
Bangtail Muay Thai and MMA with the
class,
Hickman
class.
brothers. Sound
I've, I,
lads, really nice
I've been
lads.
there, and yeah, I've been to Thailand, and I've done a couple of sessions in Tiger Muay Thai over there. But what I really enjoyed about it is just that you're just so ingrained into the training over there. It's
Oh
like you get
yeah,
up
no,
in the morning,
100%.
Yeah, you're in there, that warm environment where, you feel that you're working hard, and you get some good spars and good kind of training over there with the amount of people that want to do similar to what you're doing as well,
Yeah,
and getting over
100%.
there and
You're around like-minded athletes, you know. That's the
getting.
biggest thing. It's like you're around them like-minded people. It kind of, I don't want to say, it motivates you. You know what I mean? It motivates you that bit more when you're around that. You know, and I really found like that in that kind of environment over there. I was really, really excelling. You know, really did enjoy it while I was over there for the 7 weeks. You know.
Yeah, 100%. Were you doing training some elbows over there, and how looking forward are you to throwing? I love asking anyone who's moving from amateur to pro. You're going to have the chance to throw some elbows as well, both on the feet and down on the mat as well. Are you looking forward to kind of unleashing some elbows
As
now in
as
the
I
pro range?
said, it's broadening, and as I said, it's keeping every blade as sharp as each other. You know, it's I've had a lot of time now to prepare for this pro debut with the elbows and knees to the head, standing and on the ground. You know, so I think what it does is it widens your options. You know, it kind of it it gives you more kind of I'm gonna say wiggle room, because it's like in amateur, I always found when I take someone down and they're holding on to me, and I can't do as much damage as I'd like to do, because they're not worried. But when I can frame an elbow and I can land them big elbows from the top, it really does change a lot. And I'm looking forward to getting in there at the fight with the 5 minute rounds as well. That's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. The 15 minutes of fighting, the way it should be, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And look, in terms of training from when you've been preparing for amateur fights and to what you have to do to get yourself prepared for professional fights, have you noticed much of a difference, or have you kind of slowly been integrating different styles of training in preparation for this moment?
No, and I think you're an idiot if you don't integrate training for pro. You need to be sparring with elbows and knees to the head. You know, you don't need to be trying to knock your sparring partner out or not, but you need to be landing them. Like, you know what I mean? I've added it into my pad work. I've added it into my sparring sessions, my simulation sparring sessions. You know, I've added it into everything. So I am well prepared, and I don't like being cocky or anything like that. But when I do get in there, it's not going to look like it's my first pro fight. You know what I mean? I really do feel like that. I really do feel like I've really upped my level and really adopted the elbows and knees to the head. So I am looking forward to it. I really am.
Yeah, yeah. And you're going straight in Cage Legacy 19 to the top of the card. Jonathan Fanard, main event. We off camera there. You've been selling loads of tickets. You've been telling me as well. There's a big
Yeah.
crowd coming. It's
Deco kind of
it.
needs to give me more bleeding tickets. Is what he needs
Pay
to
the
do.
man, Declan. Pay the man. He wants to get a percentage of those tickets for sure. But look at Cage
uh,
Legacy. They run a very tight ship there, very good, well run promotion, and
100%.
it's like with Declan, he integrates not just the fight night itself, it's the media day, it's the injury or the interviews, it's the promotion ahead of the fight as well. And I think all of that is very important for a young pro fighter to kind of get used to as well, for when you maybe do progress onto a bigger show.
No, 100%, and Deco, he does prepare you for it in his own way. You know, he's been around a very long time, Deco. You know, like I've been at his first ever show back in 2016 when Peter Queally fought Decky Dalton in the main event. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
remember little things like that, and it's weird because like I remember being at that as a 12-year-old kid and then manifesting it to like, I'm gonna be main event in this card and I'm starting off my pro career, and here I am doing it, enjoying the journey, in love with the sport, happy. You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest thing, and like, fair play to Deco. He's out of putting on some card. I think arguably one of the best cards of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of the names on it are huge. Some of the fights are fights that people want to see. You know what I mean? So I have to say fair play to Deco on that front.
100%. You mentioned a couple of people. Obviously, you said Peter was there, the first event that you were at. We've had Caelan Loughran come through, Pedro Carvalho comes through, lots of good Irish fighters that have come through and then progressed onto the bigger stage. Whose footsteps did you like to follow along? What kind of path you looking to forge? It may, like, I mean, we're not. I won't not going to talk about the later stages. I mean, I think it's important now to focus on maybe year 1, year 2 of your professional career. And how would you like that to play out?
How would I like that? And it's actually that's a great question, because it's at the end of the day, I'm only after going 20. I'm still 20 years of age. We still have a lot of time to, let's say, marinate in the pro ranks. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? We have a lot of time to get better. So what I've kind of put in plan is I've put in a 6 fight plan, and what I want out of each opponent is each opponent to be, let's say, better than the last. So I'm improving each fight. You know what I mean? Opponents that'll give me problems, that'll challenge my style, let's say. So that those are the fights that I'm looking for, are the fights that'll improve me. I think that's the big thing for the first few fights. Win or lose, if I'm getting better, I don't care. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing for myself. And I think eventually that part of me taking the fights that I need to take on the promotions, that I want to fight on, I think I'll eventually end up in the UFC. I would imagine in the next, let's see what the next 5-6 years in my pro career, let's see what happens.
yeah, 100%. Very good mindset and a good way to think about that kind of situation. Your opponent at Cage Legacy 19, Jonathan Fanard. What kind of challenges do you think he's going to bring in and give to you for your professional debut?
So I think the biggest thing that I'll say, I do believe him a lot. Like, as a technical fighter, I think I'm better than him everywhere. But I think the biggest thing is his game. Like, he's game for it. He's flying over from France. He's not flying over for, let's say, an L holiday. You know what I mean? He's coming over to an Irish fan base to fight an Irish superstar. And I think that takes a lot of balls. So he's going in there, and he doesn't have too much to lose. A man that has nothing to lose is a dangerous person, like, you know what I mean? So, like, I'd love to put myself in his position one day, but I think that the reason that Jonathan is taking the fight is because I really struggle to actually get someone on the regional scene, and as a professional, I believe that there's risks that you do take, but if you do take a big risk in fighting someone, usually you want to get paid well for it, So I don't, let's say, think of like the regional scene. I asked for a few fighters, and they turned it down. I don't think negatively of them, for that, because it's a different kind of business. It's more of a business, the pro game, So I do understand that, but he's coming in to the cage. He's nothing to lose, and he's something to prove. You know what I mean? So we'll see now in a week's time what he's to prove.
100%. In a week's time, it'll be the main event. The cage door will close. It'll just be you and him. What do you expect to happen in the fight?
As I said, and I perform best when I'm in there enjoying it. Anything can happen in a fight, but I know once I get into the groove of things, I'm very hard to beat. So it's a case of me getting the weight down perfectly, me refueling perfectly, and once I'm in there, I can't really explain it, but everything just starts to click, So whatever presents itself, I'll be ready to snatch it, So
Absolutely, and I'm very, very looking forward to seeing it. As am I looking forward to seeing the progression of your professional career as well, Max. Been following you for quite some time, and I feel I could talk to you all day about stuff. I love picking your brain about different things, and I love hearing your mentality. But I won't keep you any longer. I do appreciate the time, but I also say that I don't think this is going to be the first or the last time that we'll speak. I look forward to speaking to you down the line.
100%, Ian, 100%.
Thanks so much for taking the time, Max. All the best to you. Cage Legacy 19, September 30th, Max Lally versus Jonathan Fanard, main event that's available. We go over to Cage Legacy, go over to Max. I mean, are you giving fight links for the pay-per-view as well?
Yeah, no, I have a link in my Instagram bio, and I think I have 12 tickets left if Deco decides to give them to me. So
that's it. Dollar Deck better get that money out and tell you for those tickets. Love it, Max. Thanks so much for taking the time. Take it easy, my man.